I want to end tonight with the impeachment hearings. Not what side you're on, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, but whether or not you are tuned in to see the process play out. It's only the fourth time in America's history that Congress has considered articles of impeachment against the president. So I teach a journalism class in College Park at the University of Maryland, and I asked my students today if the spectacle and coverage of these impeachment hearings was captivating to them. Now, mostly not. They're aware of its importance in historical context, but here's the common thread. They feel like the end result is already predetermined. The Democratic House is going to vote to impeach, and the Republican Senate will not remove the president from office. You know, why bother watching the game if you already know the final score? Then there's the tone of the whole thing. Civility's gone. Everyone's dug in on their respective side. Politicians are tossing more insults at each other, like last week when Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana called the Speaker of the House dumb. Now, if this is the example we're asking our young people to follow, it's only going to get worse. But here's what's most concerning to them, my students, that journalists are becoming the target of outrage, rather than the indefensible actions of our government leaders. And that's not inspiring these bright young students from being enthusiastic about this profession, which I hope you'll agree helps keep our democracy strong. Asking challenging questions isn't unpatriotic, and pointing out proven falsehoods don't make us biased. Instead of pivoting away from strong journalism, we need to embrace it. And that's my final thought. I'm Adam Longo. Thanks for joining us tonight. Even if the story hurts the side you support. Bruce Johnson will be back here with you tomorrow for Audio On. For Mike, I'm Adam Longo. Have a great night.